Hi, Amanda from Whitewood Acres here. Thanks for joining me today. Well, I've already planted my big garlic patch, which is about 400 cloves, but I had some left over and I wanted to plant them too. So I'm going for a second patch of garlic in my hugel culture. I thought I'd take you through the steps of what I do to get really big garlic, because I do get really big garlic.
Come on, chickens.
So the first step of planting garlic is know your variety. There's soft neck and there's hard neck. So soft neck has a soft neck. It does not produce escape. And a soft neck is better suited for warmer climates. And then there's hard neck, which is what I grow. It's better suited for cold climates, and we are in a cold climate in southeastern Ontario. It's a growing zone 6B. So hard necks will produce escape, which is about a month, give or take, before your harvest in July. And scapes are this stalk of what would be the flower, and they're just like a delicious bonus that the hard neck gives up. Another difference, and probably the most obvious one, is that it has a hard neck. So soft neck is typically braided because it has a soft neck and it's easy to work with. Hard neck would typically be bundled for storage because it has a hard neck and it's not very pliable. And I've heard time and time again that hard neck cannot be braided. And I'm here to tell you that is not true. I know a way. You can check out my video on fishtailing garlic if you're growing a hard neck and you're interested. I can show you how to make a braid that's just as functional as it is beautiful. As a side note about finding seed garlic, don't plant garlic from the grocery store. You can, and it will grow. But honestly, it's so easy to find garlic that is local, or at least semi-local to your area. A good place to start is Facebook Marketplace, farmers markets. Finding local seed garlic is just one more advantage to growing good garlic. It's going to be acclimated to your growing zone in your local climate. So let's quickly touch on timing. You could plant your garlic in the early spring, but ideally you want that tucked into the soil over the winter. That way it can be properly vernalized. Vernalization is exposing them to a long cold period, which essentially is going to kickstart your single clove into splitting into many cloves. And in doing so will become an entire head of garlic. Also, you want to plant your biggest and your best cloves. You want to set them up for success. So next you want to prepare your growing space. And if you don't have any of these, I can show you what else to do. They help though, they are helping. So these guys are going to be in the ground for about 9 months. So you want to make sure that you're putting them in a weed-free bed with loose, nutrient-dense soil. Nutrient-dense. That was so hard to say. Nutrient-dense. So I amended this bed here with my own compost. And our compost pretty much consists of kitchen scraps with eggshells, and also we put chicken manure, which has pine shavings mixed in with it. So it's a good rounded out mix of carbon and nitrogen, so for an all-around good compost. So I just used my pitchfork to work it in and just kind of make sure that the soil was loosened enough as well. So one thing you're going to want to consider is your depth, especially if you're in a cold climate like I am. You're going to want to put them in around 4 inches deep. And if you don't put them in at least that deep, you kind of run the risk of having them heaved out by the frost. And that's happened to me before. So I make sure that they go in at least 4 inches. And spacing, I kind of let that depend on the size of the cloves, the size of the variety I'm growing. So in my large patch where I have 400 cloves planted, I've planted a local variety that's called Northumberland. It's a porcelain variety and it's quite large. And the cloves are almost the size of an entire head of garlic. So I space them about 6 inches apart. Now in this garden I'm going to be putting Russian red, and they're a little bit smaller, so I'm going to go with 4 inches. I also have a lot that I really want to put into this bed, and I'm hoping to get them all in here, so I'm going to go with about 4 inches with my spacing. So you can use trenching or you can dibble individual holes to plant your garlic in. I've done both. They both work great. I'm kind of in a hurry today. I have a busy day, so I'm going to go along with trenching. So I have this great little hand plow here, and if your soil is loose, you should be able to just drag a hoe through it and make yourself a row. Okay, so we're ready to plant, but because I'm a loving mom, I'm gonna give them a little snack of bone meal before I tuck them in for the winter. You probably already know this, but it's worth a mention. Your cloves are gonna go in pointy side up. This is where your shoot is gonna come out. And this little butt end here is where your roots are gonna grow. So straight up and down, pointy side up. Okay, the weather is turning, so the garlic is in. So one last thing we need to talk about, and that's mulch. So they're all in the bed, and I'm gonna give them a nice layer of insulation with mulch. Personally, I love chopped straw, and if you watch my videos or any of my TikToks, you know this about me. There are other brands out there, but I'm a Straw Boss girl. I love chopped straw because it's seedless, it's easy to work with, and it's compacted into a bag, so there's way more straw in here than it actually looks like. So one bale goes a long way. But there's options. My first year growing garlic, I used dead leaves as mulch, which is very common. Find what works for you and go with it, but don't skip the step. So there is much discussion over whether or not you should leave your mulch on in the spring. Personally, I do. My garlic has no problem poking up through that straw when it's time to sprout. It's great weed suppression, and it also is a barrier to keep your moisture into your soil. So if you ask me, leave it on. For more tips on garlic, please do visit my channel. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Happy growing.